I'm Montel Williams. I've been coming into people's lives and living rooms for almost 2 decades now. And through the years, I've changed a lot, but my goals have always remained the same. To help people find enlightenment, hope, and the courage they need to create the lives they desire. And to give them the tools that they need to become the best that they can be. And to that end, I'm presenting this Living Well series. So today, we're going to talk about the things that could be impediments to you living well. Let me take you back. It was about 8 years ago. It was a routine medical procedure. Then something went wrong, and something else. And the next thing you know, I'm lying on a gurney in a hospital in New York City, and I'm dying. The year was 1998, and I'm laying on this gurney, and I'm watching my heart monitor, and it goes from 59 to 20 to 0. And I think, wait, that can't be right. No heartbeat means I'm dead. So I panic, and then all of a sudden, this unbelievable sense of calm and peacefulness comes over me, and I'm looking down at the doctors from somewhere up above them, and I'm watching them pound on my chest and stick me with adrenaline just to bring me back. It took them about 10, 15 minutes to bring me back, and then the next day I'm in an operating room for 16 hours, and I woke up from that. My first thought was, my God, how happy am I to be alive? And then my second thought was, Montel, I've wasted way too much time on things that were way too unimportant, things that were stopping me from achieving what I really wanted to achieve. And I decided that minute to change my life. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. Do you have to wait for a life-threatening event to change your life and to get started down the road to success? What's getting in your way? If you're not moving forward in life, then all you're doing is just marking time. And too many of us are doing just that, marking time. And if you're doing that, then I'll tell you something, you're just like I was back in 1998, lying on that gurney waiting for one thing, waiting to die. Well, today I'm going to talk to you about living every single day, life every day, living every moment to its fullest possible extent. People often ask me, with a disease like MS, Montel, why don't you just quit? Why don't you just give up? How do you keep going? And every single day I tell myself, I'm going to be the person that owns the definition of who I am, nobody else. And every single day I tell myself, I'm going to be the person that owns the definition of who I am, nobody else. So let's talk about that for a second. Let's talk about what's getting in your way of becoming the person that you really want to be, deep down inside. How can you overcome the obstacles that are getting in your way and stopping you from moving in the direction that you want to move in? You know, in all my years as a talk show host, I've interviewed thousands of people with all kinds of stories, people who have faced all sorts of challenges, people who are at different places on their life journeys. And you know what I see? The same problems keep coming up over and over again. And I've faced them myself in my own life, in my own struggles with MS. So let's talk about them honestly and directly, and let's talk about what we can do to solve them. The first one and the biggest one for many people is fear. F-E-A-R, fear. No ifs, ands, or buts. We're taught to be afraid. From the minute we're born, we're taught to be afraid. And the irony is, it's the people who love us the most who teach us to be afraid. Our parents, our families, and later on our friends, our teachers, our colleagues. But it begins at home. You know, don't talk to strangers. Don't run across the street. Don't play with that. Don't touch the stove. Don't do this. Don't do that. Every step along the way, we're told, don't do something. And guess what? If it's about your dreams and it's about what you really want to become, you got to reach outside of the don'ts. The problem is, once we've learned how to stay alive, the fears that we're taught get in our way. You see, we learn to be afraid to pursue our dreams because our dreams exist beyond the rules. Now, some fears are justified, of course. Bad things do happen. We live in a scary world. Not everyone we meet along our way wishes us well. But if we go through life never taking chances, we'll never realize that there are good things waiting for us. When I was 6 years old, I was bused to an all-white school, and I'll never forget that first day. It was one of the most frightening days of my young life. And there were parents standing outside that school with sticks, rocks, bottles, cursing, calling me every name under the sun. There were people lined up outside of school shouting words that I had never heard before, throwing things. Their faces were filled with rage and hatred. And I'm trying to figure out, are you talking to me? How could I, a 6-year-old child, create so much hate? I was terrified. So scared, I'm gonna tell you, we went into the school and thought that when we got into school, it'd be a safe haven, there'd be teachers in there that would be there to protect us. But then I realized that some of the teachers were saying some of the same things. I could have grown up to become all those things that those people were shouting about me, but I didn't. I could have become afraid to succeed in life or in school, but I didn't. I could have curled up in a ball right then and there and I could have died, but I didn't. Something inside of me refused to let them define me. Now, I didn't consciously understand all that at the age of 6, but that was probably the first step on my journey toward defining myself. What I did realize was that those people weren't allowed into school, so they couldn't physically harm me, so they couldn't stop me from getting my education. But the fear and the sting of that moment has always stayed with me. I can still close my eyes right now, right this second, and see that day. How are you going to react to the fear that you face in your life? Are you going to let it limit you? Are you going to let it define you? Or are you going to use it to become something? Or are you going to own the definition of who you are? But that's not all there is to the role that fear can play in our lives and our careers. Later on in my life as a special duty intelligence officer in the Navy, I was involved in several top secret operations. On one of my very early missions, the critical decision of go, no go rested squarely on my shoulders. And the truth is, neither I nor my team was ready. But I was afraid to admit it because in the Navy, you just didn't do that. But I knew that if I didn't admit it, I would have put the lives of over 120 people in jeopardy. I only had 40 seconds to make that decision, and it was the longest 40 seconds of my career. And guess what? I opted to wait. Sometimes fear can be useful. Sometimes you need to check where that fear is coming from. Is it the fear of the unknown? That's natural. That's to be expected. That's what you've been taught. But I'm going to tell you something. You've got to get past that fear or you'll never try anything new. You're never going to grow. You're never going to look for an opportunity to grow. You're never going to have an opportunity to share what you have. Why? Because you're so afraid that you can't. And there's another kind of fear, and it's a healthy fear based on your own limitations. You've got to learn to tell the difference. We all face these fears throughout our lives. Am I good enough? Can I do the job? What if I fail? If you let it, fear of the unknown will keep you from ever taking chances, and you will never realize your dreams.